Okay. Hello everyone, this is Kiederen. We're back with more Void's Blitzarre Adventure. I mistakenly started last week saying it was, I think, the 8th part when it was actually the 9th, and this will be the 10th part of this Let's Play, if you want to call it that. And we are slowly corrupting. Chapter 17. I'll need to see the map again real quick to remember what's coming up, but let's see, I think, oh yeah, this one. So last week we played a interesting chapter. It had a kind of forested, mountained area. There were a lot of enemies, and some of them were interestingly placed. But this week we've got comparatively few enemies, at least to the start, and they are all monsters. This map, or this style of map, this tile set in the original games, as you can kind of tell, was a volcanic area or volcanically active. These kind of stony looking tiles, originally, I think it was these. They spurted flames whenever a unit ended their turn on them. There are a lot of them, though not too many that they would be unmanageable here. But some of these are kind of arbitrary in their density. So I'm not sure if they're actually going to burn my characters for ending on them. Suppose I can check while it's still relatively safe here at the start. The other interesting thing about those tiles was because the game has to think a little bit longer when a character ends their action on them. It was actually possible to use them to enact an enemy control glitch, much like the mine item or the torch staff. Last week we fought our way through the I guess it was Orson's troops in kind of a mountainy forested map that had a lot of enemies. There was a lot going on, including some of the first monster enemies I think we had encountered, though there's more of them here. I recruited, or rather he recruited himself, Nikita. Totally not Orson. Axe focused. Yeah, I guess. He's got nice solid stats. Renewal as well, which means he'll be a good tank if his defense probably isn't going to grow much, but his base is good enough that it'll be useful, and renewal adds to his bulk. He also has provoke. Oops. Here we are. So he'll also draw the attention of enemies, and got some solid weapon levels. Some good starting equipment. I think I gave him the Horse Slayer. Everything else was his base inventory though. And 46 HP is also pretty good. So I will have to see. I don't know if I'm going to use him right off the bat. I suppose he does come with really good weapon triangle control. But I'm kind of interested in seeing at least a little bit more of how some of my other units develop. I mentioned last week or 2 weeks ago that since Tim fell in combat, I was replacing him with Tam. And I went warrior this time for variety. I'm kind of curious what skills he gets, though I think I've heard say that the hero's skills are better, but I don't know specifically. I assume they get soul and axe breaker. I think that's what it was in Awakening. Anyway, but I went warrior with Tam so that I could have another bow user. Unfortunately, his speed is gonna lag behind pretty bad. 30 is slow, but not terrible. And he's gotten decent level ups, but that's about all. I promoted Kirsten as well, made her a Falcon Knight, because I wanted a little more, again, weapon triangle versatility amongst my units. And I also promoted Void. She was, I think, level 18. She's got pretty solid stats now, offensively at least. Defense isn't, she's not made of paper anymore, but she's still a little on the fragile side. Leaving the Hoplon guard on her so I don't have to worry about crits. She has luck because I fed her 2 goddess icons. She still has 0% growth in luck, and she didn't get any from her promotion. Otherwise, I'm going to miss her shove skill, because once she gained a horse, she can't shove or be shoved anymore. And she's got Erica's map sprite still, but she actually has Ephraim's promoted sprite in combat. And yeah, still wielding lances. Already bumped up to an S rank. Let's see, anything else of interest? I think that's about it. I've been casually playing through this on my flashcard. Actually on my Game Boy Advance, just kind of a little more of a casual run with some actual insight to what I'm getting into before getting to it. It's been a lot more, it's been pretty enjoyable, and I've been able to catch some of the stuff that I missed on this run. Let me actually, we've got chests, so we need Bob. I think this is actually a pretty solid lineup. Going back and forth between using Anti-Arch and Cilicia, and I think Cilicia's winning, just because she's got much better offense. So I'll stick with her. And on the GBA, one other thing, I did end up missing a character earlier on in the Port of Bad chapter, the one in Port Town. There was actually a recruitable Cavalier from the one village that I missed, because I killed the boss just a little bit too early. His name is Roshia, which is a Cavalier from, I believe, Fire Emblem 1-3, who in his original game was largely underwhelming, but in this one is actually pretty good. He's got a lot of strength, decent speed, good defense base, but not great growth. He's kind of like Sane from 7. I need more iron swords. Kind of. I have to figure out what to do with some of these low durability stuff. I don't like spending a deployment inventory slot on them if they're going to break in a few uses. I'd rather use those inventory slots for something useful, or more useful over a longer duration, but I guess I can just sell them. Not technically. Matt asks, so does the MC of a Fire Emblem game have to be a lord? And no, because Path of Radiance Ike actually started out in the Ranger class, and he was not a noble either. He promoted to, I think the promoted class is called Lord, because he, in the story, obtained a nobility status later on. Get everything out. Don't want to say anything more than that, because it kind of wades into spoiler territory. Yeah, Alm starts out as a fighter as well, which is also kind of an awkward naming, more of a naming conflict than anything else. But what was? Oh, then he becomes a hero in his promoted form, and if you get the DLC, he has a third promotion to a class called Conqueror. I kind of want to use Anna, but her base stats were a lot lower for her level than I had initially thought. Like, I had hoped that they were salvageable, but I may only give her another chapter or two. I guess get her to 20 and see what her stats are like, and then I may have to decide whether or not to keep with her or bench her, because these would be really good stats if she was like 4 or 5 levels lower. Not when she's level 17 already. But we'll see. I think I got another longbow. Yeah. Don't have any anti-monster weaponry. So I don't think there's anything really to bring there on that front. Okay. I'm just putting, since there's quite a bit of a march to get to the first enemies, I'm putting my cavalry units, most of my cavalry units, kind of near the back, where their higher movement is going to catch up with the rest of my troops that have the positioning lead. That way, just about everyone's kind of where I want them to be by the time we actually start running into enemies. This is kind of an interesting geographical formation here. Like, this is kind of a dead end. Keyed in an FE game. That's something I actually did play with back in high school, idea-wise, back in those dark Chuny days. At the time, I was a shaman druid, actually. And yeah, those were mostly Chuny reasons. I fully admit. If we got into custom classes, it would even be a blade druid, because of course, you had to give him a sword too. Okay, I think we're good to start here. Part of it had to do with the manga story that I had been writing at the time. Though I in I suppose classic fashion, made sure to stipulate that dark was not analogous with evil so much it is with like kind of a void element. which, to my defense, Fire Emblem 7 actually does quite a bit of that as well, with the character Kanas, and even the final boss. Also, there's a lot of trying to, what would you say, justify? Not so much justify, but almost reclaim dark magic from this stigma that it's evil, when it's not. That's not really the case. So I am carefully avoiding these tiles, though I did say I was going to test one, so I suppose I should. If I had fielded Nikita, he would have healed himself, but I guess I'll use Bob, because Bob shouldn't see any actual combat. There aren't any siege tomes, right? I don't think there are any casters. Yeah. You still, well, so this, let's see. Yeah. So this topography is going to be one of those weird ones where my flying units can't actually fly over stuff. Phantoms are the same way, because phantoms count as flying units, but he can't pass over this valley. Right, yeah. I can go up here. What do you have? A silver axe. 11 speed. But you don't quite overlap with the Moth Duke. I don't know why there's an extra O in there, and it's not just a Moth Dog, but it's a Moth Duke. So I can, yeah, I should probably stick with the Axe Reaver. And I'm not in range anyway. Next turn. Oh, wait. What? Oh, okay. You know what? I say it was kind of back in my Junie days as far as the Shaman class would go, but I admittedly haven't 100% given it up. I still kind of want to do something with that story, even if it doesn't retain the shape that it originally started with. So I think I would still stick with that class. I also think that the Shaman kind of visually looks the most like a tactician would, or a tactician that the tactician class has been since portrayed. Yeah, I was just about to talk about that. This Anna just kind of appeared. I don't remember if don't know if it was this turn or actually the start of the map, but she just appeared. Girl with a familiar face, I'd say so. Her love of money is really strong, and she, I think, actually, well, I was gonna say she kind of beats out Bob. Arms Thrift is interesting. Not, unfortunately, it's not very useful on a rogue who's not going to really see a lot of combat. I suppose I could give her an light brand and not have to worry about overusing it. The acrobat, lunge, lock touch, despoil, those are all class skills, so arms thrift is her only personal thing. Here, 170% growth in luck. And Trickster has not appeared in any other game other than Awakening as far as I know. I'm pretty sure it's not in Thracia. So she's like gonna cap her luck in, she's got 8 more to grow, 4 levels. But let's see, Bob has, they have the same strength. Bob has slightly more HP. They've got pretty much the same speed, virtually the same luck. Bob is actually a little sturdier, defense and res. So maybe I will stick with Bob. Arms Thrift isn't really, like, Swap is marginally more useful than Arms Thrift. The only thing she beats him handily in is skill. And luck eventually, but not right now. Almost a one-shot. Alright, so the Moth Duke will be able to move in on me next turn, but the Phantom won't. So I just need to switch off of the bow after this. Like, I almost regretting giving Ty the boots, just because he, with the movement and provoke, he's almost an overwhelming presence that's actually making it a little harder to use some of my other units. Yeah, they've got a kind of a replacement trickster in Fates. Outlaw was the lower class. Adventurer is the promoted version. Actually, one of my favorite classes in Fates. I really love their animations. I guess I'll leave her here, just kind of to support either side as necessary. Yeah. I think technically the Bow Knight was the superior class. If just because movement is king in most of the games. And Shuriken Breaker was a big deal as well, though it would have been a done deal if it had come at level 5 instead of level 15. But the amount of enemy Shuriken users definitely makes Bow Knight a very powerful class if you can get it up to level 15. Oh, I forgot to switch off of the bow. Oh well. Alright, I've basically got my pick of who to kill these guys with. Might be nice to see Anna's palette at least, or Rogue Anna's palette. One-hit kill enemies, like the phantoms that have no HP, 0 damage. I just have to hit them to make sure, I just have to hit them to kill them. Yeah, there's no real aggro for, to spoil. No aggro for the enemy side because I have full control over what my characters do, but aggro does kind of apply for the enemy side because I have seals like Provoke. Haven't seen Shade yet. Shade is the opposite from the Tellius games. It's makes the target less likely to be, makes the unit less likely to be targeted. That's a one-hit kill. Okay. Samson doesn't really need the experience. I know apparently these are not flame tiles because Bob didn't get toasted this turn. So that's good at least. I probably don't have to be quite as cautious around here. Yeah. I was hoping that they'd made Falcon Knights like Awakening Falcon Knights because I thought I really always was a fan of the Lance staff combination, just giving them extra utility. As it is, they're basically just like respect Wyvern Riders, Wyvern Lords, having the same weapons and just different stat spreads. Alright. So yeah, I've always been a fan of the hybrid classes, even if technically they aren't optimal. The generalist classes tend to spread themselves too thin, is their general failing. Okay. That's a pallet. I guess it kind of looks like her. Actually, I should just continue using the bow. It's got the better hit rate. You don't move. You don't move also. Why don't you move? Oh wait, that's a chest, not a staircase. So yeah, the hybrid classes in Awakening tended to... They either had really good strength or really good magic, but not both. Because I guess someone was convinced that having both high strength and high magic would be broken. But it meant that hybrid classes basically were better off only using one of their two weapon types rather than using whichever one better suited the situation. Because let's see. Because even if you're targeting an enemy with 2 res as opposed to there are all the reinforcements, 2 res and 14 defense, but your magic is only like 5 and your strength is 20 something, you're still going to do more damage with a physical weapon than targeting the enemy's res. I guess I can use the Blitz Lance a little bit. I got a replacement still. Yeah, you just have silver axes here. All right, feed more experience to Anna. We have skills. Oh, pass. Interesting. No skills. I saw that Nina in Discord, but I didn't actually get a chance to look at the stats. As I said, I'm a fan of the adventurer class. I actually did a playthrough where I made Corin an adventurer. I especially love the female adventurer sprites. They've got that giant ass ribbon on their back as opposed to a cape, or using it as a cape, kind of as a cape, and that backflip and shoot animation is so cool. I'm still instinctively avoiding those magma tiles, even though I don't think I don't think they fire. I said I was going to give Anna experience and then didn't. Wyvern Anna to specify, since I have to do that now, since I have 3. I haven't actually played Fates in a little while. I'm trying to figure out who her father was in that picture, and I'm blanking on that hair color. Or no, who the mother. Um, right. Wow, this Vale has a lot of HP. That and Samson's also really slow. Can we get Astra run to go here? No. Get a slim sword. Slim sword probably wouldn't do enough damage, but iron sword or something. Activate Astra. Actually, waiting for a brave sword because it's gonna go on Anna immediately. Brave sword and Astra shenanigans. You get 20 attacks in 1 round of combat. Mozu. Yeah. Oh yeah, the resolution's a little low to see if that's, was it aptitude? Because basic. I say aptitude is the only thing you should ever inherit with Mozu, but I suppose if you're not doing like a thorough cap stats run, then it's actually not as important as it sounds. Right, treasure chests. Then again, I also just remembered that. Remembered that thief type units disarm traps when they're on trap tiles, so testing that with Bob probably was not a good idea. Probably inconclusive. So I guess we will subject Ty to the fire, potentially. Seal strength, I think, is Arm Master. I think the general consensus is that Mozu is best as a sniper, but I am rather fond of the Arms Master class as well, especially for Mozu, because most every other character that has the option of going Arms Master is better off going Sword Master. So having a character that actually can do decently in Arms Master was novel, to say the least. But yeah, people say Sniper for Mozu and Conquest specifically because your only other bow user is Niles. So if you're training Mozu, then making her an archer sniper gives you more team versatility. But that's only really an issue on the harder difficulties. Yay, chest key I don't need. Especially since they handed out Anna. think I saw a flame pillar in the Twitch stream, because I have that open as well to watch chat, but I wasn't paying close enough attention to my actual game because it seemed like it was out of order. I expected it to happen earlier, and it also did no damage if it did if there was something. I say feed experience to Anna, but I don't think she's actually getting anything from phantoms. Yeah, well, not much. I should have sent Bob over here. Can still rally bot here. There's a chest key. Oh, hey. Okay. Huh. I am slightly worried. I hope he's not gonna come and gank one of my characters next turn. Does anyone end up with a door key? Well, I suppose Bob or Anna's right there. Just have to get ready to charge into that room. Aside from the phantom reinforcements, there hasn't been as much as I was expecting. Or rather, I suppose the fact that they are phantoms, that they're not very threatening. Because I can just bop them like this for free. Level 5. What does she get? Symbol. I think it's spur magic? Spur resistance. It looked like a spur, but I'm not sure why that looks like a spur, but I guess that's just what I've associated with it since I've seen a few of them this run. Alright. Turn 7. So she's got her lucky 7. I should give her something. I should give her a weapon that's more expendable. I don't want to be burning uses on something valuable if she's just gonna tear through all of these guys. Might be a good excuse to clear out all of these things, but see, I have to basically empty Void's inventory to give them to her. Seeing if I have any other rallies that might be worth using. Oh, you know what would be, since I got some extra movement, I can actually go to the throne. 116 avoid. Come at me. Come at me, fools. And sure. Alright. I was gonna say I should turn off animations for this, but then I remembered that the phantoms don't have animations. 27 skill. She's 2 points away from capping, maybe 3. Female Swordmaster. Might be 30-30, 30-28. Skill speed. Don't remember off the top of my head. I know Assassin is 30-30. 30 skill, 30 speed. And Swordmaster, I believe, was slightly lower in one of those stats to make up for having higher caps in strength and defense, which was the main reason you wanted to go to Swordmasters over Assassins for combat units, combat sword units. As novel as... oh, that was useful. As novel as the Assassins were, the Swordmaster was the better combat unit. Well, she got speed. Okay. She's actually got a pretty good spread. So yeah, this chapter was actually a little boring. There's not much going on here. I basically just kind of go through everything, mow it down, and then move on. Want to reach this guy. Wow, he is vastly superior to my Phantom. Ha. Give Tam some more bow experience. Give Anna a kill. Give other Anna a kill. Give other Anna... no wait, they're already dead. Well, I know I said I wanted to hit 2 chapters today, but maybe not like this. Oh well. We're done. So yeah, as I said, that was less interesting than I was hoping for. I was actually expecting it to get a lot crazier, because would have been within the status quo for this hack. But it was surprisingly tame. I guess it's kind of welcome, though, it's a bit of a change of pace from the last chapter, which was kind of hectic, pretty hectic actually. Long and strenuous. Huh. Alright. I don't really have too much else to say about last chapter. There's a lot, considering how little happens, there was a lot of wasted space in the map, especially in the lower half, which basically was just, forced me to traverse it for an extra turn. They could have started everyone up a good 10 spaces further north, and nothing would have changed about that chapter. I never did confirm whether the flame pillars happened. Maybe I'll look back through the archive and see, just out of curiosity. But whether they happened or not, they did not play any impact on the gameplay for that chapter, so they might as well have not happened, I suppose. Phantoms were interesting, but probably would have been better if there had actually been a summoner that continuously summoned them. I mean, technically, the effect would have still been the same since they were just appearing as reinforcements, but I kind of feel like having an actual summoner there might have felt a little more personal. And the fact that the boss just up and left suppose... Okay, so the chest that made him run was Nidhogg. That is the legendary bow. And the boss was a Draco zombie. So I suppose I see the logic in that the boss ran because he was terrified of me getting the legendary bow because it would have eviscerated him. Not that I have anyone who can use it yet. Samson's still an A rank, but even so. Draco zombies count as flying type enemies, so they do take bonus damage against bows, including a legendary bow. Though they take effective damage against all legendary weapons and sacred stones because all of them are effective against monsters. And in addition to being flying, Draco zombies are also monsters. So yeah, I suppose that might be the reason why, though I'm still a little disappointed that it happened. He could have been a actually tricky opponent. Though I suppose I didn't examine his stats too closely. It might have been a wash if he was actually so strong that he could one-shot all my units, so there was that. I don't actually need the Iron Lance. I want to give her Throwing Lance back. You can... You know what, I'm just going to sell the rest of these. Make not even good chump change, but it gets them out of my inventory. Killer. Rogue Anna did show up with a Killing Edge and a Rune Sword. There's actually some good stuff. But I don't think I'm going to use her. So I'll stick with Bob. His skill isn't that big of a deal because he doesn't really see much combat, but he does have better defense and res and HP for roughly comparable speed and luck. So he's effectively got better survivability, which is what I'm looking for in a thief. Right, we don't need Sword Slayer and Sword Reaver. They're the same thing, except one is objectively better than the other. Oops, not that. If I get... what was it? Speed boosts. Not Pegasus cheese, not Echoes. Blanking on the item name now. I might consider giving one to Tam to patch up his low speed. Though Samson's also a good candidate for much the same reason. Anna didn't get the levels I was hoping she would get last chapter, so I guess I will continue running with her. My lineup is basically the same as it was before, though I might actually bench Bob. Let me see here. Pardon me for scrolling through these real quick. I'm just looking for secondary items like this physique, which I don't need a thief for. Just 3,000 gold, okay. So yeah, I don't really need to bring Bob either. So I can bring Anti-Arch instead, maybe. I'm realizing now that his high defense has actually been a fluke, purely RNG, because his defense growth is really low. So I've just been getting lucky over and over again that his defense is his second highest stat. Unfortunately, at the cost of his offensive stats. So maybe I will stick with Nikita. Nikita's offensively going to be more potent while still having roughly the same, I think exactly the same defense. Continuing the trend of characters that swing with like super high luck or super low luck. I don't even know what this one means. Getting some creepy mug effect there when I switch between these two. Some of them at least. The black face for just a split second. Alright. I think that's good enough. Island Clash. Take a quick look at positioning here. Oops. There are a lot of enemies out here. Well, a fair number. This boss is actually threatening just on his stats and skills alone. Seal skill. Wrath. Wrath is kind of scary on a berserker. That might be a class skill though. Camaraderie is interesting. Renewal. Gets the healing of a throne without the actual throne. He's on the plains, good. He's already got 41 avoid, which is on the higher end for a enemy unit. Putting him on even on a, does he move? He doesn't move. Even on a forest would have pushed, is going to push him up to 60 avoid, which is in the territory where fighting him in his range is basically RNG. But then I also just noticed that he doesn't have a ranged weapon and doesn't move. That means I'm just going to pick him off with probably Samson, and he's not going to ever swing his axe. This is why you give ranged weapons to your bosses. Alright, so mostly unpromoted with a splattering here and there of, well, actually just random paladin, random hero. Nothing noteworthy inventory-wise, just one of the mercenaries drops a physique staff, which I will get just by clearing them all out. It's a defeat boss chapter. Okay. Oh, okay, that's kind of a dead end up here. So I guess Wyvern Anna can take care of that. See, these can't even walk over the river. Enemy stats are pretty underwhelming here too. Oh, pirates in general already have seal skill. Okay. Even for level 15, they're really underwhelming. I might not even need tie here. Which I guess means this is an opportunity to try to train up some of my weaker units. Alright, that should be good. So one thing to note is this chapter, the layout is actually mirrors another chapter in a different Fire Emblem game. This is roughly the layouts for the Gaiden chapter of Fire Emblem 6. The chapter that you get the legendary bow. Though it doesn't have any of the charm that that chapter did. And by charm I mean 6 bosses. All of which had kind of obnoxious avoid. as I was just talking about with this boss that might have had it. I suppose it also vaguely resembles chapter against Selena in 8, though less so. But if it draws any analogs from that, there might be playable units that appear around here in a turn or two. We'll see. But in any event, since I didn't see any particularly interesting enemies or particularly interesting weaponry, I'm just going to kind of carve through these enemies and not really expecting them to fight back much. I suppose I need to be, well, he's got an Iron Lance. Arv has Lancebreaker. This guy doesn't even have a ranged weapon. You do, at least. Javelin. So my Swordmaster can walk a little on water. If I had actually... Well, I have Cilicia, right? Oh, but she... So her Acrobat skill... the condition is that it has to be natively traversable, regardless of what it costs. So she can't walk on the rivers like Bob or other Rogue Anna would have been able to. But it's not too big of a loss. Wow. Those forests, I guess I'm always often underestimating just how much the forests will cut cavalry's movement range. It's like you go from 7 spaces to only 2 in pure forest. So that's what they cost, about 3 movement points. Well, that works out since I did want to kill with Pran. So that I can go in and kill this axe with Nikita, so that Arv is surrounded by nothing but lances that she will break. Okay. His strength growth isn't great, so getting strength is good. I'll kill this guy so that the remaining enemies are less likely to try to go for someone else. Not that I think even he would have been in range of anyone, but this way I kind of constrain their movement to just Tam. You're out of range. $20, $25. So like I was briefly concerned when I saw Kirsten's not avoid, but the Cavalier's hit rate on Kirsten was 50%, so like, oh, all right, she's gonna take that hit. And like, if this guy had had well, even if he had a Silver Lance, that's what, 14, I think. Do I have someone with a? I think Silver Lance is about 14 might, so even with 7 more, you still wouldn't have been able to kill her. So that's good at least. So I have to go down here, across, up again, over, and then down in order to reach the boss. A surprisingly pleasing shade of purple for him. It doesn't make any sense, but I like Tam's turquoise as well, actually. Not sure why I'm just noticing these now, but I suppose part of the gimmick might have been that the pirates can walk over the rivers and your player's units less so, but this might have been a bit better of a map if it had happened earlier in the game rather than now, because I'm just going to be able to steamroll most of these guys. Summoner doing work that's not summoning. Yep, hand axe so that I can counter this guy. Though don't actually have the power to kill him. See if Tam can fix that. Yeah, that's pretty good. Laughs in renewal. Alright. That was, oh, interesting. So, Erica in Sacred Stones has a glitch with her promoted form in the, at least in the North American version of the game, where her critical with in her promoted animation doesn't have the appropriate critical super flash. And it looks like that glitch actually transferred even to the Ephraim's animation, if I was seeing that correctly. I don't want to take that damage. I suppose there's no reason I can't take that damage, because Cavalier certainly isn't going to be threatening me much. If I want to kill both of these guys, I actually should attack. Okay. So this is a situation that could be analyzed for efficiency. I have 2 enemies and 1 character left to attack. I can kill the fighter in 1 round, and in doing so I only take 2 attacks total from these set of enemies before it's my next turn. However, I cannot kill this guy with Tam in 1 round. Yes, the legendary bow. It's the same legendary bow from Sacred Stones, Nidhogg. The legendary, the S rank weapons and fates, they're not even really legendary so much because the game gives virtually no lore about them. The legendary weapons and fates is actually more the personal weapons of the retainers, the male retainers, because those have specific mythological references. But anyway, if I attack, again, assuming that both of these guys are going to attack Tam instead of Void. They might attack Void, because she has ever so slightly less defense. But if they were to attack Tam, then if I wanted to kill both of them on enemy phase in this turn, I could attack the Cavalier. Cavalier takes damage, counterattacks. On the next turn, Cavalier attacks and gets killed on my counterattack. The fighter would then attack, and I can already one-round him, and he would die. And then both of these enemies would be dead on next turn, but I end up taking one extra attack. So from an efficiency standpoint, that would clear the enemies faster. But if from a safety standpoint, I would want to knock down this fighter first, because that reduces the number of attacks my units have to withstand in the coming turn. This is again assuming that they're both going to attack Tam, which now that I'm looking at stats, I think they're more likely to attack Void though. So you're 27, 11. I should probably kill this guy. If I really wanted to protect Void, I could also have attacked with Tam's bow, which meant that the Cavalier would have attacked him instead of Void because he can't counterattack. I guess Cilicia can come up here and support Hannah. Those are some gross hit rates. I'm going to come down here and wait for the Cavalier to leave the forests. Nope, more despoil. Taking care of my money needs. So the Horse Slayer can one-hit this guy, but the Brave Axe has a slightly higher hit chance. But on the other hand, I also need both of them to hit. I remember reading on Reddit that someone did an interesting study on this kind of situation where people trying to see in certain situations, how people perceived probability. And how that scaled with the actual hit rates and damage involved. So like I think he used whoever it was used an example of Lynn attacking like an archer. So he took out no risk of counterattack. He just kind of based purely on the offensive percentages, and like the archer, and then give Lynn an iron sword and a steel sword, and then found that people would generally prefer attacking with the iron sword because it has a higher hit rate rather than the steel sword, even though the steel sword would do more damage per hit. And then they try to change the situation so that she's like attacking a sniper on a mountain or something, and you now are looking at universally lower hit rates, stuff that's pretty unlikely, kind of like I think 20 to 40% hit rates, and found that people suddenly kind of switched their opinion and they would rather attack with the steel sword, even though it's got an even lower hit percentage, because the chance of doing any damage is already pretty low. Yeah. So they want to maximize the damage they get on the off chance that they do actually hit. So yeah, as you saw there, no critical flash on hit, because that bug seems to have been preserved. I need to get my healer down there. Okay, so these guys are advancing on me. They're not particularly threatening. Suppose they do more than half of her health by themselves, but there's virtually no one else in range. Okay, so you're out of the forests. Marginally better hit rates. I don't know why I stocked the dragon spear for this. There aren't any dragons, and for any other case, the killer lance is better in every way. They have basically exactly the same weapon specifications, just one's got critical and the other doesn't. Just like that. Alright, she's got one more level. What does she get? She got some skill, got some speed. She needs more skill, but she's got low growth and skill. I suppose I do have a secret book. Right, doesn't help that she got skill sealed by a pirate. Alright, unless random reinforcements show up over there, I don't really need to support Anna, because she's just going to fly back on her own. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Could actually have gone a little bit further, because I am planning on using Tai to rally movement next turn as well. Okay, I wasn't sure if Kirsten was going to be able to double here, because I remember some of her speed comes from Darting Blow, which only is effective on player phase. And otherwise, well, she does have good speed currently, or at least solid speed. It's 17, I think, right now. And these are unpromoted enemies. So yeah, I could have gotten a little bit further, but that's okay. It's just this random Myrmidon down here. Void can kill him. Void doesn't even need to go out of her way to kill him. She's just gonna keep going the direction she's been going. Actually, she might. It's got a steel sword. That's 2 off, so she's got 15 speed. Okay, well, yeah. She can kill him if she 9 con. Wait, 9 weight. Okay, yeah, she can double him and kill him next turn. Or on this enemy phase. Now we just spend a lot of time moving moving characters because there's a lot of empty space. It's not a win, but it's not terrible either. Can I push her into double range with a rally? How much does a rally give? 4. Basically, if they currently have the same speed, which they don't, then that would have worked. But since they don't, might as well just keep hoping for the crit that didn't come. That's okay, this was still advantageous. Killer Lance is kind of wearing down a little here, durability-wise. Might as well leave him for Void too. Okay. Who needs to double when you can just crit? Hello. That was blue. Edgeworth? Oh. His edge is worth. He is a rally bot. Okay, he can't use that guiding ring. But I'm considering giving him the Swift Souls because I haven't gotten a Dancer yet still, and Rallybot might be the next best thing. Jesus. Wow. Those stack. I suppose they did in Awakening too, didn't they? Yeah. 1, 4, 4, 4. Yes, strength, def, speed, 2, and movement. Wow. That is pretty nuts. As to why he appeared down there, well, I think in the original Fire Emblem 6 map, reinforcements appeared from down there, but it wasn't down there exclusively, and they were enemies. So your guess is still as good as mine. This is the guy with the physique staff. Because if I really want to be conservative here, I can force only one of them to attack. But let's see, 19, 19, it's 18, 16, 6. 6 damage once isn't really threatening enough. To be too overly cautious. Rather not have to give this Myrmidon the forest tiles, just because it'll make him a pain to deal with. Who's left? These guys? Oh man, it's gonna take another turn to kill that one. And this one, unless I crit. There we go. But yeah, 15 damage still won't kill him next turn. Okay. Actually, I do want to kind of keep Void moving here. 'Cause there's just a lot of distance to cover. Ty is also a movement bot. It's like, this is a position where I suppose I could start harassing these enemies with phantoms. I suppose that might not be a bad idea, mostly because if they're all gonna wait, then they're all gonna pile on at the same time, and if I can split them up, that's useful to me. Do I have growths? They do have growths. Right, I think I looked at those before. Anyway. I suppose Edgeworth's growths aren't gonna matter because he's never gonna see combat. I don't think he's. If he doesn't promote, then he's not gonna gain any experience, and he wouldn't gain experience even from rallying anyway. They could have given him zeros and everything, and he'd still be amazing. As it stands, I just have to protect him, or I already have to protect him, I should say. But he's well worth it. Those are some crazy, crazy buffs. Yeah, I can imagine a few different things that they could have done with his character portrait, but I suppose technically that says no photo available is a photo, unless that's something built into like Event Assembler, the hacking tool used. Because otherwise it would glitch out in a different way if there wasn't actually a portrait associated. At least according to what I remember from when I dabbled and stuff. I'm gonna rally my rally bot. Can I stack movement? Nope. I was like, can I get, if I use 2 rally movements, can I get 2 movement plus 2 movement? Alright, well I drew one of these guys out, so I was kind of hoping for the hero actually, but this is okay too. Yes, there is a character with a map mug that is upside down. I'm not using her at the moment, but she's interesting. More experience for Anna. Oh right, Vantage. think there is, let's see, has Anna actually done anything this chapter? It's like, I don't think Anna has, I don't think Cilicia has. Samson, Nikita, Arv, and Ty, I don't think I've seen combat since the first turn. Yeah, this has not been the most engaging chapter either. I can give Phantom a little bit of defense. Still doesn't matter because he only has 1 HP, but it does start to give him a little more substantial avoid. Actually, I shouldn't have sent the Phantom out because I'm trying to lure with Anna. And the Myrmidon's just going to attack the Phantom, and no one else is going to be able to reach Anna. I just need to not be in range of this guy. No, that was another tick for the accidental rally counter. Yeah. And nothing else happened. If the enemies were stronger, this might have actually been an interesting place to use the Berserk Staff on this mercenary, or this hero. He would have done a number on all the mercs and myrmidons in the area. Yeah, don't want to fight him in the forest. And this is mostly me still trying to feed Anna experience. I don't really need to be this careful about it. What's his con? 4? Okay. Like, it's gonna take a while to walk Edgeworth up around here and all the way back down, so I'm probably gonna just rescue drop him next turn. Can continue summoning, but at least, the very least, gets her some experience. I suppose I can just do this. Gives me this seal defense, and I can summon again next turn. Otherwise, I'll just wait. Duelist blow, so I wasn't expecting a hit there. I was about to started my commentary assuming I was not going to hit that, but okay. Duelist blow on the Myrmidons initiating combat means it kind of screws over my hit rates, but I got lucky anyway. Let me give him a regular lance. I don't remember if he. Oh, actually, I was gonna say I don't remember if he has the Constitution to use a steel lance. But it's... yeah, he'd lose 1 point of speed, which isn't too big of a deal. Okay, so 15 speed's actually kind of decent. Not great for level 20, but those might be stats for a Wyvern Knight class promotion. We will see. I'm not sure I want to spend a Master Seal on her, but if I get another Elysian Whip, then I will happily promote Wyvern Anna to a Wyvern Knight. And there's not much else to do this turn. Guess I can get a little closer. Oh, provoke doing work. Which should mean that the Phantom will be attacked by the hero, at least. That's good. Yeah. No enemy reinforcements either. Those might have actually made chapter more interesting. Feels weird having to say that. As it stands, this has just kind of been an experience dump for me. Yeah. I talked a bit about balance and scaling earlier on in this playthrough, and it's coming back in a different way than I was expecting. Initially, I was a little concerned that if it hadn't been balanced around hard mode, that the enemies might get too strong too fast. But so far the scaling has been a little more like Fire Emblem 6, where the beginning of the game is actually really hard because you don't have any momentum with your character level ups yet. But once you actually start building them up, the enemies don't scale fast enough to keep up with you. And so you get a very challenging early game with a fairly negligible end game. So yeah. Unless he magically decides to start moving, even though he says he has 0 movements, then this would be a free win. I might as well have summoned that turn, given her a little bit of extra experience. Well, not if you're going to do that with it. was like, did my hit rate just go down after I buffed? But then I remembered, I think he's got... No, he doesn't. What the... Oh, right, Seal Skill, that's what it is. So... Good old Fire Tome. 90% hit. Even if you don't do much damage, that accuracy alone is a blessing. Samson. Let me see if I can give this kill to Void, just because Lord needs a little more love. She's only level 2 still, because I just promoted her. Cool. That's a good level up too. Her skill's already pretty good, but getting strength, defense, and speed is fantastic. So yeah, I kind of summed up that chapter as I was going. It kind of has an homage for a chapter map layout, but they don't do anything nearly as interesting with it. A lot of they just have enemies scattered around that are just kind of there. Some of them advanced on me, but most of them just kind of waited until I got in range. So that and just the sheer size of it really slowed down. And the lack of really anything happening except for Edgeworth appearing just kind of made it fairly dull. In contrast, we actually have some stuff going on here. Look at all these soldiers. There's a small army. So this chapter was called Lit Chapter, right? No, it's lit. We got a whole bunch of promoted enemies here in tight quarters. Basically, this is just screaming, choke this point. Bottleneck right here. Kind of weird that I've got deployment slots over on the other side of the river here. I am probably just going to put at least one of my flyers. Let me see if I have an Elysian whip. I do not. How many? Yeah, I only have the one Master Seal left. So, unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to bring Anna. Not right now, at least. Let's me field Edgeworth, the mighty. He definitely has a way with words. Don't see anything interesting to steal either. Orion's Bolt is neat, but he drops it so I don't have to steal it. So Glenn is a character from Fire Emblem 8. Yeah. As a lot of these bosses have been bosses from Fire Emblem 8, but Glenn's interesting because you never actually fight him in 8. He appears in cutscenes and is actually killed off in cutscenes, so the player never actually crosses spears with him. Yes, Edgeworth is a hype man. So Bob can stay behind. And I guess anti-arch is the next best option to field. Or I could just field no one. Leaving the open spot there means that I can put just Kirsten up here in the corner and she can fly across the river next turn and be none the worse. Though I suppose I could also just rescue anyone I put over here with Kirsten and then fly them both over as well. So maybe I'll do that, because having anti-arch is not a bad idea. Seal speed is always good, and he's got good bulk. Plus another staff. Another healer in case I need him. Oh, right. Because the portraits here are flipped from what they are in the actual status screen. Edgeworth's no photo available is backwards. Unless I trade with him. So I guess first off, can he use the Master Seal? He cannot. So basically just give him, like, I can give him those things just for utility if necessary. Just have him carry them around in case someone needs to grab them. See, I've got a bunch of gems I can sell. Edgeworth cannot promote. I just tried to use, he's level 20 already, and the Master Seal does nothing for him, and I don't have any other unique promotion items at the moment. I mean, as I said, he doesn't need to. He's just here to do his thing. He kind of looks like he's rapping in his the map sprite, which is kind of funny. Oh, you need another shine. Yo, yo, I'm Edgeworth, and this is how you do it. There are some cavalry. There's still... Not sure there's enough to need a horse slayer, though. Especially since I don't have a lot of... I guess I can give Nikita one. Or give it back to him, basically. One thing I liked about Awakening, among a lot of things, but the merge items option. So I could take these killer lances with just a handful of uses left and combine them into something that has more uses. What am I doing on Flux Tomes? I'm gonna need another one. Any shops? I think I saw some houses. There's a house. I don't know if it's visitable yet. There's a house here too. And one there. Just gotta make sure Kirsten has the 13, 9, yeah, okay. So Ty's gonna take the start of this. I don't see any axes, so he can equip a lance. Actually, to give him a little more of a... I guess the javelin's okay. Let's him counterattack this guy. 19 defense, 24. Okay, so he'll do some damage. Bring Rally Man into the fold here. Cilicia and Nikita can go down and support the green units. There's a house here too. Meanwhile, I think I guess we'll do this because I want Anti-Arch to start lobbing projectiles over Ty's back as soon as possible. This choke point's gonna fill up quickly. Alright, here we go. Between having two fairly easy chapters and then starting earlier, I've got plenty of time to go still. I'll probably be more limited by when my voice starts to give out. So these houses are not visitable. I guess I can throw my short spear here. Nice. Low percentage crit, securing a kill. Send a phantom down there as well to try to draw some attention. Oh, hello. Hey look, it's Zigludo. And he's not on fire. Nice personality. This unit has a deep and engaging character, bursting at the seams with development. I already made that joke. Rally skill. So, 135 growth in res. So, this is Sigurd from Fire Emblem 4, the main character of the first generation. And these, I think, are actually roughly what his growths look like in that game, excluding res. I think the res is only there because his legendary weapon in that game gave 20 resistance when it was equipped, so nuking his resistance growth up that high is, I guess, the closest thing they can think of to mimic that. And I'm looking at his HP growth, and it says 0.5, but it's green, so I think that's 105 instead of 0, or instead of 5. He had fairly low speed, but fantastic everywhere else. And his base 18 speed is going to be good enough to carry basically him probably throughout the rest of the game, even if he doesn't grow anymore. And 35 isn't a terrible growth in speed either. So yeah, this is his almost his starting inventory too. He had a steel lance, and I think he had a steel sword, but he gets a silver sword in the prologue chapter of 6. Got 11 con, standard for a male cavalier. So since I want everyone else to go up, I don't want to tango with them. So I should go down. I'm not sure how much I want to give him a force tile as well, but I can't get far enough away from the promoted enemies and still be on a forest tile. So I'm gonna have to do this. Since Tai is likely going to be the only one actually seeing much combat this turn, and he's the only one who really needs to get the rally. So I can kill this hero next turn. On retaliation. Or just with Tam, that's acceptable too. I think that was the result of Rally Man giving him strength and speed. Okay, you do that, Tai. Tai was determined to kill a hero this enemy phase, even if it wasn't the one he weakened first. Okay, yeah, I think this is Provoke at work again. Yeah, alright. Yeah, I was trying to avoid... hoping to avoid any of the green... hoping to prevent as many of the green units from dying as possible, because there's usually rewards attached to that, though this chapter might not have been that well thought out for that. Tai is 1 point away from maxing his luck, which he's got 100% growth in luck, so he's going to do that next turn regardless. I didn't realize I'd used the javelin that much. Without using warp shenanigans, then these soldiers were all kind of predestined to bite it, unfortunately. Because again, this is the end of the first turn, so unless I used warp, I would not have been able to get down there, and even if I had been able to get down there, I wouldn't have been able to do so with enough units to cover all of those options. Wow, there's only going to be one of them at this end of this turn. Well, soldier, you were the only one left. I'm basically just going to rescue him with Cilicia. Okay. As I said before, his strength isn't that great, so any level that he can get with strength is a boon. Oh, I should have turned on animations for him. Let me do that. I usually forget the first time anyway. See what his GB8 palette looks like. It's a good point for Tai, but doesn't actually leave much access for backup. The upside is these javelin users are gonna have free reign against him next turn. I'm not sure. 27, 24, so 27. Wow, actually slow enough that Samson can kill. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 4 units. So I actually might be able to get all of these guys kill. I might be able to kill all of these enemies this turn. Prin's in range to back up if in the unlikely event that Anti-Arch can't finish off this one general. Yeah, not a problem. Alright. He does need more skill and speed. I'm gonna go down this way with these guys, mostly because there's a forest here to pass through otherwise. This nice, what is that color? Aside from my Flux desktop app, taking out the blue, it looked kind of like a, what is it called? Like a, not a barnacle blue, but like a blue-greenish. Less, even less saturated than that. I'm gonna keep this guy safe. Even if no one else makes it. She can walk over rivers, so we can do that next turn. Six, 6, 4. Okay. Meanwhile, Tai just casually marching through the entire forest in one turn. Most of the forest, I should say, not all of it. All of them come into play. There were a lot of javelins this chapter on the enemies. Pretty much almost every knight there, and most of these cavaliers and all of those generals up north all had javelins. So you either just kind of take it patiently like this, where you knock them down one by one, or run in with someone with your own javelin, like I did on the first turn with Tai. And you play the javelin game. On the upside, the javelin as a weapon isn't overly threatening. It doesn't have very high stats. Low accuracy, low power, high weight. For the most part, it definitely favors the player's use than the enemy's. There are some select cases where that's not true, but for the most part. In this case, I managed to swing enough of my army around to finish off these cavaliers in one turn, so I don't have to wait out another volley of javelins. Fun fact, the AI in Fire Emblem 4 was a little wonky when it came to giving enemies javelins. In that game, enemies would auto-equip whatever weapon that had the advantage against you when you attacked them and they had multiple weapons in their inventory. So if you had, say, sword knights, and you were attacking a cavalier that had a sword and a lance, and they had previously used the sword, so you should have been neutral, but if you attacked them, they would auto-equip their lance. Because they're just jerks like that. But that worked against them when on enemy phase, when faced with a player's archer. Because for whatever reason, however that coding worked, it ended up making enemy cavaliers that had javelins in their inventory use their javelins to attack archers at range, where the archers could retaliate on enemy phase. And it's one of those weird instances that actually helps archers in that game, players archers, and by that I mean mostly, was it Midale and Lester? the mounted archers. To actually be able to have an enemy phase presence against those enemies at the very least, because they were dumb and attacking the way they normally don't. Naturally, that's been fixed since. I don't think that happens in Thracia, but I haven't heard of it happening in Thracia, but I'm not entirely sure, admittedly. So that's not visitable either. Just check this one and then kill the boss and we're good to go. I might actually be able to do another chapter, but we'll take a look. I can feel my voice is getting a little raspy. Depends on how long the next one looks. So what do you have? You got a killer lance, no movement, and no ranged weapon. Okay, the same pitfall from the last chapter, from the boss. Got an archer who'd love to meet you. So I guess real quick, this section's a bit of a waste of space. Actually, pretty much everything above this bridge was kind of a waste of space. Nothing actually happened there. There wasn't any enemies that spawned. There weren't any enemies at the start. There was just some player placements that promptly, on the first turn, just moved south. This house wasn't interactable. This one wasn't interactable. This corner here could have done something, and they didn't. Because all the green soldiers were over here. There was no prompt or anything for what they were about either. And as I mentioned, as the slaughter was happening, there was no real way for me to get down there and actually protect them, if that was, in fact, what I was even supposed to do from the start. What do I want to... Since I kind of have my pick of... Let's actually use Tam to kill, eventually. Man, that's so good. That rally is so good. Gotta weaken him a little bit first. It's interesting that the enemies are starting to drop promotion items now, considering most of my army is already promoted and has been promoted almost fully for a few chapters now. Spin the bow itself. That will surely add power to your draw. Death blow, I think. But death blow, cool. Not quite as good as it is in Heroes. But still pretty interesting. But yeah, most, if not all, I think all of my units now are all promoted, except for Anna. Wyvern Anna. Crossbow with a revolver. I don't think even spinning that isn't gonna increase the power of the bolt itself. If that's what you mean. But it does seem a little late to be handing out promotion items. especially with so many Master Seals available in the earlier chapters. I think I had 3 to 4 Master Seals at one point, and Siguldo here appeared with one in his inventory as well. So there's that too. Great rivalry. These kind of seem like they should have been chapters that, if scaled properly, should have appeared earlier in the game, I think, or should be probably reworked and polished up to be a little more engaging. They not only lack the challenge of the early chapters, and part of that is stats, but also just because they're not doing as much stuff. There hasn't been any additional plots, and they made it pretty clear early on that not to expect any. This is almost more of a tech demo than a proper hack. Again, because of the time constraints when making it, they were focusing purely on the gameplay. So finally we have a little more of an interesting looking chapter. There are 2 chests. I do see staircase, or no, 3 chests. 2 in the vault here, and then the one guarded by the swordsmaster. We have what do you call this? I don't. It's technically a hallway, but a fortification of sorts, effectively, here with a bunch of snipers that are going to shoot over it with longbows. This is a female archer sprite. Though this sniper is dying on the first turn regardless, so basically just this one, and this one probably going to die on the first turn too. Yeah, I can reach. So they're not going to do much. Unless they do something over here that's not really going to probably not going to factor in any. Staircases usually mean reinforcements, which is good. I've actually weirdly kind of missed them. And these kind of hallways up here have the potential to spawn reinforcements as well. I'm hoping these 2 sets of paladins will charge down these halls, either from the start or maybe when I pass this spot, so that they give me something to deal with incoming. Okay, I was just about to say, this sage should move too, but he apparently doesn't. The hero at least does. This sage also doesn't. While that's technically a strategic position, it's kind of a mini throne, and he's got coverage of this entrance and here. The movement ranges in the game can kind of ignore that for the most part, since this isn't heroes and we can move more than 2 to 3 spaces per turn. Having stationary targets with just regular tomes isn't really that much of a threat. I could probably ignore these enemies entirely, and they wouldn't have any impact on my play for this chapter. If they had had siege tomes, on the other hand, which, as annoying as that would have been, I think they probably should have had, then that would have been a different story. Maybe not both of them. This guy maybe had a siege tome, and this guy maybe had a status staff. That then would have been more interesting to deal with, and would have spurred me to try to actually deal with them instead of just possibly ignoring them or basically treating them as free experience. These guys don't move either. Neither do you. You do. The Wyvern Lords do. Is this... Save the series, but at what cost? So this is the director, I believe, of most of the Fire Emblem games after 5. And I'm amused that they got an actual picture of him, assuming that's him. I honestly have never actually seen any other pictures. But he falls in the same boss. Falls into the same boss failing of the last 3. The last 2. He is an unmoving boss with no ranged weapon. Sword fair, and no skill that remedies that either. Swordmaster bosses are always kind of a crapshoot to deal with. So basically because of this, 75 avoid. And having like duelist blow and stuff. So in this particular case, I'm kind of glad that he doesn't have a ranged weapon, because it's going to make him not an RNG nightmare to fight. He'll still be a pain in the butt to actually hit, but I can use seal skills to help with that. So I definitely want to bring Anti-Arch, seal his speed. That'll cut 12 off of his avoid. And Arv has Anathema, which is also another -10 to avoid. Plus her Malefic Aura will help my mages deal more damage too. But I think I'm gonna leave that for next week. As good as I've been doing momentum-wise here, my voice is kind of growing weary, and I think we're getting to about the same length as my usual streams. So we made good progress. And we'll pick it up next week. Let me know in the Discord if this time slot's okay, or if you kind of prefer the later one. Because this is 20. There's still 10 more chapters in the game after this one. So, yeah, okay. I'll kind of go over some of this again next week, right before we start, but this will be all for tonight. Thanks for tuning in, and hope to see you all next week.